It's us again. It's the Leftist Lens. We are James and Matthew. James, he is Matthew. Hi, Matthew.
Good morning, James.
Good morning. What a week it's been.
We're recording this on Saturday, February 21st, and something happened yesterday.
Yep. Something happened yesterday.
The Supreme Court ruled on Trump's tariffs. So somebody had sued, a business owner sued, saying that Trump's tariffs were illegal. If you recall, he authorized all these tariffs he's put on the entire world by claiming that we were at war over drugs or something. I don't even remember. It was so long ago. Well, the Supreme Court ruled in a 6-3 decision with the usual assholes of Samuel Alito and crap, what's that other guy's name? I'm blanking. Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas. The usual asshole. Those two usual assholes dissented, and they were joined by Brett Kavanaugh, who also dissented. But everybody else agreed that they were illegal, and that claiming that there was an emergency, that he had emergency powers based on being at war over drugs, didn't cut it. Declared his tariffs illegal. So what did he do?
He came out in response rapidly, as you would expect. We've been waiting for this. I've been dying for this decision, and I'm very pleased with how it turned out. But he came out. I think his first words about it were not a post on Truth Social, but it was behind a podium talking to a microphone, and he went off. He called the majority, the people that authored the majority opinion, disgraces to their families.
Well, he specifically called Amy Coney Barrett and Neil Gorsuch disgraces to their families.
Yeah.
It was specifically the two of them.
Well, because weren't they both? One was appointed by him.
They both were appointed by him.
Gorsuch was too. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so he feels betrayed that he thinks that because he appointed them to the Supreme Court, they should do whatever he wants.
Well, in his verbal response to this, he declared that no, the tariffs, we're going to add more tariffs, and the tariffs that are in place are going to stay in place.
Yeah,
and I really like he was unfucking glued. But this morning we noticed an executive order that he issued last night, ordering the dismantling of all the IEEPA tariffs, which are specifically the ones, it's over 60% of his total tariff policy, specifically the ones that the Supreme Court said were unconstitutional. So he has ordered the removal of those. But he enacted this new Section 122, which allows for, what are the details on that, Matt?
It's Section 122 of the Smoot-Hawley Act, and it allows the president to impose up to a 15% tariff for up to 150 days. And so what he did was he imposed a 10% tariff on the entire world for the next 150 days, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Right, and I think that's the problem, is that Section 122 has never been used before. The wording is disturbingly vague because there is nothing in it that indicates what happens after that 150-day clock expires. Now, this is what I think is the interesting part, is that those 150 days take us right up to the midterms, right up against the midterms. And if he's going to reinstitute, first of all, we need to stop calling these tariffs. We need to start calling them what they are, which is taxes on the American consumer. The idea that he's going to get away with implementing or re-implementing a tax on the American consumer right before the midterms is bad news for the fucking Republicans. So go ahead and abuse this statute and interpret it as, oh, I'll just restart the clock at 151 days and start a new cycle. And it's going to hit right at the midterms, and people are going to be made aware of this.
Yeah.
It's going to fuck the Republicans.
Well, with that Sweet Haliak says is that if other countries are discriminating against the United States in trade, then he can impose a tariff. So they don't define what discriminating is. They don't, you know what I mean? I don't know. Congress needs to really learn how to pass a fucking law. It doesn't have so much interpretation into it.
Your microphone.
I really do.
Come a little closer to the mic. You're completely cut out now.
Okay, well, I'll just microphone.
And I'll switch to a different one.
You're fine. You're fine now. You're fine now. It's
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
All right.
Look, I'm not on this microphone. But anyway, Congress needs to pass a law that doesn't have so much, that's not open to so much interpretation. That's the problem. They keep doing that.
Well, I mean, that problem is endemic to all of the law, most of the laws that we live with. The reason we have a fucking felon as president is because it's not stated explicitly that somebody who is a convicted felon should not be serving in the highest office in the land, who couldn't even.
Actually, that's pretty clear. That is actually pretty clear.
You're saying that it states implicit or explicitly that.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's not stated as a condition of who can serve. The conditions under which somebody can be elected president are very narrow.
Well, that's true.
They're above a certain age and
35.
U.S. born citizens.
You just have to be 35 and a citizen. That's it. It's just the two qualifications.
There's no question that there's a lot in the laws that we rely on for, in this case, who can hold office, need constitutional amendments. Forget about constitutional amendments because they're impossible to get now. There's almost no chance that we're ever going to see, unless there's a major shift in the political environment. We're never going to see constitutional amendments, not in my lifetime.
You know, it feels like that, but there have been constitutional amendments in recent years. I mean, relatively, they're not all from the 1700s.
No. But how? I mean, you're talking about back in the 70s.
Yeah.
So go back and look at what the division between the two parties in Congress looked like in up until like 1995. It was very different. You had significant numbers of Republicans voting with Democrats. You had significant numbers of Democrats voting with Republicans, enough to where there was actual comity, C-O-M-I-T-Y, between the two parties to get things done. That we've been stuck at a 50-50 fucking split with Christian nationalists fucking running one of the parties for years now, and I don't know how the.
Yeah,
I don't
think it's impossible that can change. I really don't. In our lifetime, I think it can.
Don't you think that? But don't you think that part of how we got to this were things like Citizens United and all of the corporate influence that exists in politics today that didn't exist to this degree in the 60s, 70s.
Yeah, that's true. And that is the problem. I don't know how we're going to get the money out. I really don't. Because that would probably take a constitutional amendment. Probably would. I mean, it shouldn't, though. I mean, Congress should be able to pass a law that limits the amount of money that people can donate to presidential candidates. They can get rid of PACs and super PACs. Congress can do that.
Mm-hmm. But you're talking about them shooting themselves in the foot because that's where they get their money.
We're talking about the ones that are currently in office. We can put different people in office. I'd like to remind you, every single member of the House is up for re-election this November, and a third of the Senate. You don't have to put the people in office that get their money from corporate donors. You don't. And Democrats, I'm looking at you. You need to do your work in the primaries to not put those motherfuckers on the ballot. Don't give us Gavin Newsom in 2028.
No.
I'm just telling you, don't.
It's the fact that Gavin Newsom is being embraced so tightly right now by the centrist Democrats brings me back to the thing that they criticized about Kamala Harris being bequeathed the nomination. We're acting as though Gavin Newsom, we're fucking 3 years away from the election, and Gavin Newsom is the heir apparent. There's nobody else that's being courted by the Democratic Party.
But that's normal. The Democrats always have the next in line. That's why it was Hillary in 2016. That's why it was Biden in 2020.
Why they fucking lose so goddamn often?
I know. I know it is. Look, I used to be registered as a Democrat, and I used to want to vote in the primary. I live in Pennsylvania. Like, I don't know, 10 or 12 other states already vote before we have our primaries here. There's only ever been one person on my primary ballot. Everyone else drops out before they get here.
Jesus fucking Christ.
It's a mess.
So, we talked about this last week, I think, that all the primaries should be
on
the same day.
They should be a thing. And they are in some states. I don't know which states, but not this one. So I was just looking. There's 26 states with Republican governors and 24 states with Democratic governors. So that's about as 50-50 as you can get. Because that's what you need. You need the states to ratify. If the states can elect a Democratic governor, then they can ratify a constitutional amendment. I mean, conversely, if they can elect a Republican governor, they could, do whatever Trump wants them to do. If we had, 36 states with Republican governors, they could give Trump all the power in the world, all the power that he pretends he has right now. They could give it to him for real.
So that numbers game, that dynamic reflects the same situation that we live with today in Congress, because there aren't enough Democrat-controlled states to ratify a constitutional amendment. There are enough. There are also not enough Republican-controlled states to ratify. So all we have is a stalemate.
Right.
Both state, in terms of the state's relationship to the federal government and within the federal government itself, and that's part of. So I'm going to come back to something that we talked about in recent podcasts frequently. Is that my concern is that given the absolute abysmal failure that Congress has been under this president, the lack of confidence in the voter to come to the polls in the midterms is not bolstered by this, it's eroded by this. And go ahead.
That's true, but I think people are pissed enough about the Epstein files that they're going to vote.
I hope so.
They know the Republicans are covering this shit up, and I think they're going to vote to get them out. I really do.
There's nothing that I hope for. Well, there is something I hope for more than that, for that fucker to die. But this
he will someday. Not soon enough, but he will someday.
Oh Lord.
He did fall asleep again.
At this fucking board of peace.
Yeah, the board of peace. So look, we laughed about the board of peace, but it's not good. It's bad.
Fucking horrible.
It's a really horrible thing. So I don't know if we even talked about this before, but it was some time ago that Trump announced that he was creating the Board of Peace, which is to rival the UN. He doesn't think the UN helps him. So he wants to create something to replace. He said it might replace the UN. It won't. But he thinks that. And all you have to do to join is pay $1 billion. So several countries paid that $1 billion and joined. They were not your favorite. They were not like our allies in Europe. I had the list up, but I moved it to look.
Well, I've got the list in terms of who's on this mafia conglomerate here. Executive board members are Jared Kushner, Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, Tony Blair, Mark Rowan, Ajay Banga and Robert Gabriel Jr. High Representative for Gaza is somebody, Nikolay Myadenov.
I'd like to point out that Trump is the chairman for life. So even when he's not president, he'll still be the chairman of the Board of Peace.
And you know who the heir apparent is going to be when he fucking croaks. It's going to be Jared fucking Kushner, unless he's in some fucking Turkish prison before then. Fingers crossed. And then senior advisors are, get ready for this, R.A. Lightstone and Josh Grunbaum. I'm going to leave that where it is.
But so a bunch of countries, Argentina, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Bulgaria, El Salvador, Hungary, Indonesia, Israel, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Mongolia, Morocco, Pakistan, Paraguay, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, UAE, and Uzbekistan in the United States have all paid the $1 billion to join. And then this week, Trump just said, I've transferred $10 billion from the U.S. Treasury to the Board of Peace. How the fuck can he do that? And I don't know if that's the $10 billion settlement that he plans on giving himself for suing the IRS, or if he just straight up stole an additional $10 billion. I don't know.
Scott Bessent is Secretary of Treasury, right?
Yes.
He had to authorize this.
Yeah.
That motherfucker right there. Oh my God.
So that's your tax dollars, folks. That's your tax money. He just stole it, $10 billion worth, to fund his little project here. And what is the project actually? It's actually a development plan for Gaza. They're going to build luxury hotels and luxury condos for rich assholes in Gaza on the graves of the Palestinians that the Israelis fucking genocided. That's what's happening. So that's the plan. That's what that $10 billion is for. I hope you're happy if you voted for this shit.
This is another example of something that Congress could have pumped the brakes on, that Congress could have intervened on this. I would love to see the rationale as to where it is in the presidential powers that he has the power to extract $10 billion from the American taxpayer and place it in an offshore account under his name. Where is this power enumerated? It's Congress has every, and I think it was Joey Contino or one of these fucking YouTube podcasters I saw talking about, when we get to the midterms, yes, we will have the ability to impeach Trump, but not to remove him. We're not going to be able to remove him. It's going to be another fucking jerk off exercise like it was in his first term when he was impeached twice and nothing came of it. These impeachments are meaningless without removal. I'm tired of these fucking things.
Yeah, did they look at the math? Is it literally impossible? I mean, there's 33 senators up for re-election. You need 66 to impeach. I mean, not all the ones up for re-election are Democrats, some or all Republicans, so they're not all going to switch. Even if you voted all 33, if all 33 were Democrats, are there still 33 more Democrats in the Senate? I don't know. I didn't look at that.
You seem pretty confident that removal was an impossibility, even the best case scenario after the midterms.
Well, I'll tell you, some Republicans would vote to remove. I really think that. I think, well, Thomas Massey would. I think he would.
Yeah, I think he would too.
And I don't know, public pressure can get others to change their mind. It really can.
I have to, and I'm not advocating for J.D. Vance to be president. I mean, that's the default that we get if we remove Trump from office. But I'm deeply concerned. I'm more concerned about J.D. Vance inheriting the presidency, because what would happen in the stock market, I think, would be a boom. There would be positive repercussions in the stock market, because the level of certainty would return to the economic frontier if Trump was out of the picture and Vance, who's a politician,
I mean, look, JD Vance is Peter Thiel's puppet. He would want to do more and more and more for the billionaires, even more than Trump probably did. But you're right. There would be certainty, but also his personality, he won't control the cult.
Won't control MAGA. No.
He won't. And that means that the Republicans in Congress won't have to go along with every goddamn thing he says. They won't have to. And I just don't see him doing as much damage as Trump does. I just don't see it. So I'd rather have JD Vance. I do advocate for JD Vance over Donald Trump.
So here's why that concerns me, is that gives the Republican in 2028, it gives the Republicans momentum to elect Vance, because Vance will be the heir apparent then for the Republicans and gives him a better shot. And I don't like that at all. So part of me is I'm remaining hopeful that he's going to choke to death in his fucking sleep rather than get impeached and removed, which gives Vance the power, which then gives Vance an edge in 2028. I don't like that at all.
Yeah. I don't think Trump's going to survive until 2028. I really don't.
I used to think that vigorously, and I'm so tired of thinking that.
But it does really appear that he has dementia. And from what I understand, from what I've heard from people who work in nursing homes, I was talking to a new coworker just yesterday that had worked at the Soldier Sailors Home here in Erie, which is like a nursing home for military vets. And he talked about people with dementia and how, and you can be talking to them and they're all there one day, and 3 months later, they're completely gone. And a month after that, they're dead. He said dementia progresses really fast. So I don't know. I think he has it, and I think it could happen.
I truly believe that Trump could be reduced to a lung and an amygdala and kept in a jar, and Congress would do nothing to remove the lung and amygdala in a jar from its position of power.
I mean, you keep saying Congress, but it's really just Mike Johnson. It's Mike Johnson that won't allow any bills to move forward in the House. The Senate has done some things. They've tried to do some things to curtail his power.
And I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene, before she ducked out of existence, was going to make a push to remove Mike Johnson. That didn't happen.
No, she did say that, and you're right, that didn't happen.
Weak.
Yeah, I don't know. And the amount of headlines I've seen over the time, Mike Johnson's really in trouble now, but he's still there. He's such an opie. He doesn't know anything. Anytime anybody asks him, well, I don't know anything about that.
He's so fucking weird.
I hate him so much. But yeah.
All right. So in addition to our discussion just now about the Board of Peace, all indications are that we are gearing up for military action against Iran. Now, I want to point out something that I am hearing from my channels on the inside is the rationale that's being given to the troops that we're deploying over there is that we are doing this to keep them from, or to stop them from killing their own people. It's a gaslighting campaign that's going on in the military. You're gonna go over there and you're going to bomb the people of Iran so that we can get them to stop killing their own people. I heard this last night as people were deploying, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, that's what Trump said, though. He publicly said, I mean, they started protesting to begin with because Trump said that he would have their back if they wanted to overthrow the Khomeini.
And so
they did, and then they got slaughtered.
Yeah, and that's the saddest part to me is that the people who are, and I know there's multiple factions that are behind what is attempting to be an uprising in Iran, but that they are buying into and believing that it's a good thing to have the United States backing you in this effort. And I want to point something out. Now, what is Huckabee's role? Is he the ambassador to?
He's the ambassador to Israel.
Israel. So there was a recent Tucker Carlson, bless his heart, went over to Israel to interview Mike Huckabee. Now, Tucker has decided that he is very anti-Zionist. And it seems, I haven't seen the entire interview, but Tucker got in a little bit of trouble with Israel about this interview. But in part of the interview, he's talking to Mike Huckabee about what's Israel's agenda here. And Matt's got the audio from part of that interview, which he could play right now.
Christian Zionism. I want to go back because that's where we started.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have
Go
said
ahead.
it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times.
Mhm.
And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if Christian.
Yeah, that cut out, but at the end, Huckabee says it would be fine if they took it all.
Yeah.
Are you listening, people of Iran? The United States is not in this for your best interest. We are in it for this is the United States ambassador to Israel proclaiming clearly and verbatim that it would be fine if Israel took the entire Middle East. That includes you.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm pretty sure it's Netanyahu, because Trump has a history of doing things when somebody else with power or wealth asks him for something, he tends to do it. And I feel like Netanyahu asked him to do this military action in Iran.
Well, if it wasn't Netanyahu, it would be some other figure that the Likud party pushes to that position with the same agenda. This agenda goes beyond Netanyahu. Yes, Netanyahu is the engineer of it in the present day, but this is supported by Christian Zionism, as was stated clearly also.
Mm-hmm.
This is fucking. It's insane.
A reporter asked Caroline Levitt why this military action is necessary, given that when we bombed Iran a few months ago, Trump came out and claimed that we obliterated their nuclear facilities and that we'd never had to worry about them again. And her answer was, I could give you multitude of reasons. That's all she said. I could give you a multitude of reasons.
Okay, bitch. Give
she
them.
didn't give a single one. So what the fuck?
Oh my
And
God.
I'm really upset with the press. I know they kicked out all the real journalists, got kicked out of the White House.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy was probably he was sitting next to Steve Ducey, so he's probably from Newsmax or something.
Douchey.
And those guys they have journalism degrees. They are educated in how journalism is supposed to work. And why they don't ask follow-up questions or demand actual answers is beyond me.
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is they'll be removed from the press pool like the other agents of journalism were, who had somewhat of a critical edge, which is the job of. And by the way, I saw a speech by Barack Obama during his term. I think he was talking to it was a press dinner, talking about how the job of the press is to be critical of people in power. And it says he doesn't necessarily agree with everything they say, but it is a pillar of what journalism should be, is to hold accountable the people in positions of power, which is not what any of the individuals that exist in the White House press pool today do. They are there as sycophants. This is just a further extension of how broken and corrupt the federal government is under this administration, because the DOJ is not the president's attorney. And every time the representative of the DOJ speaks, they're only speaking to defend one person in every sense of what they should be fucking keeping arm's length away from. It's the swamp is deep right now. And
Yeah.
oh God.
But you know, I'm pretty sure I said this before, but the fact that all the things Trump is doing haven't been done before simply because nobody tried it and not because it was explicitly laid out that you can't do this shit is a real problem.
Yep.
And it requires a constitutional convention to fix this shit because our system is not designed well. All this time you've been told that this was the best designed, the Constitution was the best governing document for any country ever. It's not. Obviously, it's lacking in a lot of guardrails.
We've been hanging by a thread for generations, and the thread that we've been hanging by is one of an understood social contract within the federal government, between its branches and between its agencies, and between the federal government and the American people. There's been an implied social contract that hasn't been explicitly enumerated well enough in the governing documents, but it's just been an understanding that these are the rules that we follow. We follow these. When the Supreme Court tells you you can't do something, you stop doing it. You don't get behind a podium and declare that fuck you, I'm going to keep doing it, and then berate and threaten and by the way, imply that members of the Supreme Court are agents of foreign governments. He said that.
Yeah, he did. Ones, even his own, ones that he appointed, he
Yep.
thinks are.
Yeah. And so I'm going to go back to 2015, and one of the attributes that MAGA chose to latch onto and elevate this piece of shit was that we love him because he says the things that nobody else is willing to say. That's not a flex. You know who else does that? Mentally ill fucking people. And I'm not denigrating mentally ill people, but I'm not also electing knowingly mentally ill people into positions of power. There's parameters we need to have, but this was something they elevated, that he will do the things that nobody else is willing to do. He will break all the rules. That's not a flex. That's fucked up.
It's a disaster.
So we're now going to get into the end piece of the podcast, but before we start talking about a couple of movies that I've seen and maybe Matt's seen, I want to bring up something that happened in my life in the last 48 hours. So I work for the government, and I work specifically for the Defense Department, and we have annual training every year, just a battery of things that repeat year after year after year after year that we have to complete every year. And so I got to work the other night, and I logged in and I saw my email said, hey, your annual training is due. So I went in to do it. The first two modules in my annual training, working as a defense contractor, have never been in the annual training before, and I've been doing this for 15 years. These first two modules never existed in any form. They were never even implied. The first module was understanding and accommodating diversity, equity, and inclusion. This was a almost 2-hour training that I did, talking about how to embrace and protect diversity, equity, and inclusion. The second one was a 1-hour training in understanding and protecting the LGBTQIA population in our clients and within our clients and coworkers. These were explicit modules required to be completed that seemed to fly in the face of what Hegseth and Trump said, especially with regard to Department of Defense, that these woke agendas are going to be purged. They don't exist anymore. And all of a sudden now we've got explicit trainings about supporting DEI and supporting LGBTQIA in the workplace. It fucked with me.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I do too.
I
just don't understand. Again, these things didn't exist in prior years' training. This is brand new training. And it threw me for a loop. And I noticed my boss, who sits behind me, was doing the training, and he fucking hates DEI. He hates the LGBTQIA, and he was clicking through this fucking training. He couldn't click fast enough to get through it. He hated what he had to do, and I turned the volume up on my workstation so he could hear all the case examples that are presented in those 2 modules, and it would just annoy the fuck out of him. But yeah, it's fucking wild.
Well, James, before you tell us about your movies, you said you're not keeping up with the Olympics. I'm keeping up a little bit. And I just want to apologize to Canada for being so much better at hockey than you all. Our women beat the Canadian women for the gold medal. And our men tomorrow morning are going to beat, or tomorrow afternoon, whenever the gold medal game is, they're going to beat the Canadian men too. I'm convinced of it. The United States beat Slovakia 6-2 in the semifinals. Canada barely got by Finland 3-2 in their semifinal game. Canada, as the center of the hockey universe, is about to be done, and I love that for you. But can I have a visa though? Can I get a visa? But anyway, I watched a movie yesterday. I watched Song Sung Blue, that movie about the Neil Diamond impersonators. It was sort of a tragedy. It was a tragic. Yeah, it was a tragedy.
So it isn't a biography of Neil Diamond?
No, it's a husband and wife team that in the Midwest played Neil Diamond songs to large crowds in Chicago and in Wisconsin, around that area.
Okay.
It's a true story.
Yeah.
But it's a tragedy.
Oh,
It's a tragic true story.
I've not heard of this. I have to look it up.
It's good though. I liked it.
I started watching 28 Days Late, 28 Years Later, whatever. The Boneyard, the new movie, The Bone Temple. Yeah. The first 11 minutes were very disturbing, and I was watching this. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm even going to continue watching this, but I did, and I'm glad I did, because that movie is so much better than the last one that came out that this is a sequel to. It's so good. There's the relationships and the stories that are within this are so fucking good. And then the way it ended was so, and I'm not spoiling anything for anybody because you can look up who's in the fucking movie. Cillian Murphy's in the movie, and it's not a flashback. It's Cillian Murphy in present day is in the movie, like at the very end, and it's so good. And it leads to what looks like is going to be another movie. And it'll probably center Cillian Murphy, who, by the way, is the producer and director of the movie also. But it's the first few minutes are very jarring, but then it gets so good. You feel so bad for the Samson character. I don't know that I felt bad for the Jimmy character in terms of how his life turned out, because I really hated him to begin with. But oh my God, it's so good.
What do I have to watch first? I've only watched the original.
No, watch the one that came out before this. That this is 28 years later, whatever it is. Watch that. Otherwise, the sequel isn't going to mean much to you. But you'll suffer through that one. But then the Bone Temple is so good. God damn.
All right, I'm gonna watch Marty Supreme this weekend. I haven't watched that yet.
The second season of the series Paradise, which I stumbled upon last year, is coming out this week, and I really was struggling with that series because it reminded me of Lost, and how they were there's very uncertain narrative in there about what the fuck is even going on, and it felt like they were making it up as they go along, like they did.
Is that the one where they're like they all live underground?
Well, that is where the first season went to. It was some sort of global crisis, some political.
It was like a murder mystery involving the president, right? Something.
Part of that too.
I watched part of it. I didn't get into it though.
But it also in that same vein. What was the movie that came out this past year that was about a nuclear strike on the United States, but then it ended without you knowing whether or not, what was that?
Yeah, that was on Netflix.
Yeah, that was also frustrating for a lot of people because
Mm.
it ended poorly. But this has a second season, so that's coming out this week. I'm going to catch up on that.
Cool.
All righty, people.
So we'll see you next week. What are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about the war with Iran because it's going to start this weekend probably.
That's true. Ugh.
So we'll be talking about that next week.
All right. Good luck, folks. Stay safe and protect each other.